One thing that the Fuji X100 lineup is super famous for is the film simulations. But did you know that if you're bored of the ones that are inbuilt into the camera, there's a whole host of user-submitted ones on a site called Fujixweekly, and today I'm going to be trying out one of them. I selected the Kodak Vision 3 250D film simulation version 2, and this video is the experience that I had using it for everything for an entire weekend. So watch along to see how I get on. Straight off the bat, there's a couple of things that I'm worried about. One is that I'm always tempted with a film simulation to tweak it slightly, increase the contrast, or change the black point before I post something. So this will be an interesting experiment. And secondly, I think my main criticism of film simulations in general is that they don't particularly have that much of a stylized look to them. Some of the stock ones I do like classic chrome, but most of them I think don't really have that much of a distinctive look, and so I'm always tempted to apply a much more stylized look to it in the edit. Let's see if this one can overcome those issues. So the plan was to go about my weekend as I normally would and document everything using this film simulation. Right off the bat, I really liked the greens that this one produced, and because the weather was so sunny in London, it was really perfect because this film simulation has a real nice underlying warmth to it. I really like the shadows on this particular shot, and something that I liked throughout the process of using this is that the blacks were really nice, deep and crisp, but it still had some good latitude there in the highlights and midtones. On this Saturday, we just spent some time walking around, soaking in the lovely weather, and we headed over to Borough Market, which is one of my favourite places to go to shoot some street photography. I think on these particular shots is where the film simulation really shines. I loved the matte blacks underneath the arches with the harsh shadows and contrast. I think it did a really good job of rendering these scenes. I actually really liked some of these shots as well of minor details. I think the contrast played really well into capturing some of those things. This shot right here is one of my favourite ones from the weekend. I just think it's perfect, with their kid's bike taking pride of place on the front of their window. This shot right here is one of the only ones where I think the film simulation didn't help. I just think there's too much grain going on in the foliage and it makes it seem way more crowded than it should. We picked up some dinner and took it over to the park to enjoy it in the sun, and some of the shots that I got whilst we're having a picnic are some of my favourite of the day. The last one in particular I think is a classic and hopefully will just sum up our summer so far this year. This right here is a video shot using the same film simulation, and I can see it being very useful for things like this. On Sunday we headed over to East London to check out Colombia Road Flower Market and get some food over there. So of course I had to take the camera with me again and see what shots I could get. These were some of the only photos that I got in artificial light, and I have to say I didn't like the way that they turned out. First stop was Brick Lane, which on a Sunday is glorious for taking photos.
Why not? Why not only today? Why not only today? Only today, not tomorrow.
This guy always is on Brick Lane on a Sunday playing street chess, but today he had quite the impressive parasol hat, so definitely worth the photo. And you know I had to pay the Fujifilm tax, which is every time you walk by a basketball court, you have to take at least one photo. Next up, we walked over to Colombia Road Flower Market, where I got some of my favourite shots of the whole weekend. I think this one is a classic.
Commenter on TikTok.
There were lots of great compositions to be had, with people carrying funny and extravagant plants around, and we had a great time. Whilst we were at the market, it was in direct sunlight and it was really hot, so I think that the natural warmth of this simulation worked really well and captured everything quite true to life, but with a really distinct style. After Liz bought some flowers, we managed to get some pictures of ourselves before heading over to a sandwich place that we've been wanting to try for a while now, Dom's Subs.
Oh, you got a little mat going on. Got vegan, Italian.
I took this opportunity to get some more video using this film simulation. I'm actually thinking about making a whole YouTube video dedicated to this topic, so let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see this. So after all of that, what did I think about the film simulation? I have to say I was actually really impressed by this one. Normally I would say they're not strong enough, they don't have as much character, and that's why I'm always so tempted to tweak them in post-production. With this one though, it really did have a very characterful look. I didn't feel the need to actually adjust it afterwards, and I'm really happy with some of the photos that it produced. It kind of shows me exactly why these film simulations are popular, because these are all straight out the camera with no adjustments, and they look great. They're ready for me to publish somewhere, and I'd be really proud of them. I think I did well to choose a film simulation that would suit the weather at the time. It was a really sunny weekend, and I went with something that had a very warm temperature to it, and that paid off big dividends. One thing that I was really worried about was when inputting the settings, the white balance setting was actually a fluorescent light setting, and I thought surely this isn't going to look good in daylight, but I was wrong. It actually looked really good in all the daylight shots, but I didn't like it under artificial light. I found that it just threw everything off way too much and the colors were not pleasing. Going forwards, I'm actually really impressed by this film simulation, especially considering it wasn't actually a stock Fujifilm one, but simply a recipe that someone had come up with on Fujixweekly. Like I mentioned, I've got a few other videos I want to make on film simulations, like shooting video with one, but I've also been thinking about buying some Vision 3 film and comparing the real thing to the film simulation. So let me know too if you want to see that video. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all the comments and likes and subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out and motivates me to make more content. I upload videos every Sunday at 5 PM, so if you enjoyed this one, consider sticking around and hitting that subscribe button, and I'll see you next week.